No more heroes, it's hero begin to catch on nobody but yourself, nothing less to do.
Travis, it's kill or be killed.
Ow!
Today is the 21st of November, which means another day for gaming news. Today is Friday. We made it to the end of the week, but I hope you guys have been doing well. Hope your headspace is okay. Hope life hasn't been treating you guys too harshly. Apparently we had the Xbox presentation happen yesterday. I did watch some of it. I had to go back and watch the whole thing in full. So we're going to be talking about some of the games that were announced yesterday, shown off, as well as some other gaming news, of course. That all being said, Battlefield 6 is officially the best-selling game of the year and the best-performing game in the Battlefield franchise. Really good game. I've had a lot of fun with it. The multiplayer has been really dope. It's very much a return to form for Battlefield 6 after the travesty that was 2042.
What is this? Huh? This is whack! I can't get jiggy with this shit!
And 5 was okay, but it didn't do as well. But I'll say it was nowhere near as bad as 2042 was. 1 was still my personal favorite. 1 in Hardline, I would say. But Battlefield 6 is a really good time for those who haven't played it. They're having a free week. So if you're someone who's been wanting to hop into the game but didn't want to spend $70-80, give it a shot. You don't have anything to lose but time. And maybe some space in your hard drive. But let's get into the article. So Battlefield 6 is 2025's best-selling game in the United States. New market data reveals. The milestone has added context to the first-person shooter's strong launch month, with recent trends indicating that Battlefield 6 has a realistic chance of retaining its bestseller title by year-end. Battlefield 6 was released for PC and current-gen PlayStation and Xbox consoles on October 10th. Less than a week later, publisher EA called it the biggest launch in the history of DICE's long-running franchise, which marked its 23rd anniversary, in September 2025. I have a degree and I still can't read. That's embarrassing. Don't be like me, yo. But Circana senior director Matt Piscatella has shared additional insights into the game's launch month on November 20th, reporting that Battlefield 6 debuted at the top of the firm's 2025 US bestsellers chart. As such, it was also the top-selling title in October, ahead of Pokemon Legends ZA and Ghost of Yote, which placed second and third respectively. Circana ranks games by dollar revenue, not units sold. It includes both physical and digital sales, albeit with some caveats. For example, MLB The Show 25 currently sits at number 9 on its 2025 chart, but excluding digital sales from the eShop and Xbox Store, Circana's data strengthens EA's recent claim that Battlefield 6 is 2025's best-selling shooter game. And then here's the chart here that they have going on. So we have Battlefield 6, NBA 2K26. I'm not surprised. People can't put this game down, no matter if it's good or not this year. Monster Hunter Wilds, Borderlands 4, College Football 26, Oblivion 4 Remastered, Black Ops 6, Madden NFL 26, MLB The Show 25, Ghost of Yote. I wish Black Ops 7 was better, because I really enjoyed Black Ops 6. But yeah, the games are ranked on dollar sales by Circana, like we said before. But not a single title in the current yearly top 10 is an original IP, underscoring the strength of established franchises. For comparison, only one original game appeared in Circana's list of the top 10 best-selling US titles for 2024. From Software's Elden Ring at number 9, last year's list was led by Call of Duty Black Ops 6, which remains in the 2025 top 10 at number 7. And while sales of the newly released Black Ops 7 are reportedly down in some markets, the latest Call of Duty entry is still expected to join the yearly top 10 once November data is in. Whether it can unseat Battlefield 6 is another question. So Battlefield 6 sold over 7 million copies in its first 3 days on the market, which according to October 16th disclosure from EA, the publisher called it the biggest launch in the franchise history. While complete historical data from previous entries is unavailable, existing figures supported by insider reports and market estimates align with EA's assessment. For context, Battlefield 6 reached in 3 days what Battlefield 5 achieved in 2 months. Its 72-hour sales also exceed the week 1 totals of any prior installment by a significant margin. Love to hear that. And then we have the sales here for past games in the franchise. Of course, 1942 and Vietnam, I think, go back too far to the point where we can't really reliably track the sales. 2142. I don't remember this one. Bad Company 2. Yeah, I remember these, of course. Then Hardline. Yeah, I don't think Hardline did so well. Well, at least in comparison to some of the other past games. I'm not going to say it didn't do well at all, but I know it didn't sell as well as they would have liked. But according to Circana data, Battlefield 6's October 2025 sales have surpassed the lifetime sales of Battlefield 1. The 2016 game held the title of the series' best-selling installment for nearly a decade, with an estimated 21 million units sold as of late 2023. The shooter is thus currently doing Call of Duty level numbers and has a feasible chance of ending the year as the best-selling title of 2025, at least in the US. So we have that for Battlefield 6. Like I said, I've been having a lot of fun. They've just recently added the free-to-play Battle Royale mode. I guess as a way to get people to go from the free-to-play mode into buying the full game and then playing more of that. That's usually how companies tend to work with that kind of thing. I know a lot of people have been loving the actual battle royale that they have in Battlefield 6, even though it's just Warzone but in Battlefield. A lot of people prefer the gunplay, the grounded gameplay, the sword pace of Battlefield compared to Call of Duty. So I'm not surprised, even though it is just Warzone, people still have fun with it. I'm never to knock something that other people enjoy, so I'm just glad people are having fun, man. But yes, we said Battlefield 6's sales were up. Black Ops 7 sales are down, unfortunately. At least by 50% in Europe, of course. But it appears that the launch of Call of Duty Black Ops 7 has not been one to write home about for Microsoft and Activision. Now, according to a new report from the game business, Black Ops 7 sales numbers are down compared to both Battlefield 6 and last year's Call of Duty Black Ops 6. Now, in data provided to the outlet by GSD, Black Ops 7 sales, both physical and digital, are down 63% to Battlefield 6. Now, obviously, it's important to note that Battlefield 6 isn't available on any subscription service, meaning that people need to buy the game if they want to play. So while sales numbers for Battlefield 6 are higher, it's still probably the overall player count for Call of Duty might actually be higher. Now, where things get a little dicey is when you look at the comparison to last year's release Black Ops 6. And according to the report, physical and digital sales are down over 50% compared to last year. Again, many can and will point to the game being available on Xbox Game Pass for Ultimate and PC subscribers, but so was Black Ops 6. Despite all the numbers being down, Black Ops 7 was still the best-selling game in terms of units and revenue in Europe for the week ending November 16th, which was its launch week. Battlefield 6, its main competition right now, came in fourth in both units sold and overall revenue. At the end of the day, it's not like Call of Duty is a dwindling franchise as it's still generating revenue for its developers and publishers. Still, it's interesting to see how far sales have fallen, and if it's simply a case of more people playing on Xbox Game Pass, or is there a real drop-off in interest in the 22-year-old franchise? I'd say maybe a bit of both. Because keep in mind, people they've raised Game Pass prices, unless, you know, you're one of those people who are currently being held hostage who don't want their bills to go up, so you kept your current Game Pass subscription, which is definitely, again, something to worry about anyway. But yeah, for everybody who either didn't have Game Pass or canceled theirs because it's going to be raised to $30, I do wonder how many people are staying on there specifically for Call of Duty this year, especially with all the controversies and as many people who are not feeling this one as much as they were feeling Black Ops 6. Not to mention, again, Black Ops 6 did have higher player counts, and that was also on Game Pass. I just think Black Ops 6 was overall the better game. I had a lot more fun with it. The sales were better. The gameplay was better. Adding in the omnidirectional movement was also pretty cool, as well as the human shield mechanic. I had a lot of fun with that. Some would say a little too much fun. But it's just interesting to see something like this happen, because I think people have a bit of Call of Duty fatigue. I think that's also something that's happening. It's a bit of Call of Duty fatigue, especially with how over the top things have been getting lately with the Beavis and Butthead skins, the Nicki Minaj skins, Homelander, all these different cosmetics and things that have been added into Call of Duty, where the tone has shifted so drastically that the game is starting to suffer from an identity crisis. It's getting harder and harder to look at Call of Duty and say, yeah, that's Call of Duty. Especially with Black Ops 7's campaign being the campaign that it is. Everything's so over the top. Everything's going off the rails. It's similar to what happened between the games Saints Row 1 and 2. Like those two games going to 3 and 4 and Get Out of Hell and the new one. The game is starting to lose its own identity, where they're leaning too heavily into one direction, because people are asking them for a different experience. And to their credit, they did try to do something new here, but unfortunately for them, they went in a complete opposite direction people wanted them to go in. That's the problem here. That is the issue here. But hopefully they take this criticism, they hear everybody's voices, and the next Call of Duty ends up being way better. I don't know if there's any saving this one long term, at least. Maybe not. There's so many different games out. We got Arc Raiders, we have Battlefield 6, we have games like Ninja Gaiden on the single player side, we have the Outer Worlds 2, we have Expedition 33 still, because that game's coming back in a lot of people's minds because of the Game Awards, Dispatch, Hollow Knight, Silksong. There's so many good games out right now. Blueprints for all the puzzle enthusiasts. There's so many good games out right now. And it's like, if your game isn't immediately good upon release, it's gonna be a lot harder to keep people's attention. I was watching another streamer stream not too long ago, and somebody in their stream was saying how they were working hard to try and like this year's Call of Duty, which is just a huge red flag. You should not have to force yourself to like something to enjoy it. You should just like it. The fact that that person was going through and having to gaslight themselves into enjoying something that was so bad is just kind of crazy to me. It's unfortunate, man, because there are some people who really like Call of Duty, who really love Call of Duty. I used to be the same way myself, but the franchise has been going in this direction for quite a few years now, and unfortunately this pattern is not gonna resonate with a lot of people. He said bring back quick scoping. What's up, Ozy? Hopefully, man. Hopefully they do something. Hope to bring people back to win players back. It's just weird, man. It's just weird. Hope you're doing well. Appreciate you popping in. And another game whose sales are up and seems to be doing really well, especially over in Japan. Street Fighter 6 sales top 6 million. Again, oops. Again, gotta clap it up. Gotta clap it up. As niche as fighting games are, Street Fighter 6 has been breaking that mold quite a bit. We've had different events going around like the Jam Slams, Street Fighter League, both in USA and Japan. VTubers collaborating with a bunch of different streamers on Twitch to bring more eyes onto the game. People are doing team tournaments. It's really cool. It's so sick. It's so sick. But this game is doing really well. It's one of the best fighting games out right now. The online experience, the speed at which you get in the matches, it's just really nice. The only main criticism I keep seeing about this game is that people, unlike what happened to Tekken, are asking for a little bit of a shakeup. Whereas Tekken had too much of a shakeup, people feel like as of Street Fighter 6 is getting just a little too boring because the game isn't experiencing much changes. But it's still doing really well, all things considered. So Street Fighter 6 launched for PlayStation 5, PS4, Xbox Series, and PC via Steam on June 2nd, 2023, followed by the Switch 2 on June 5th, 2025. It was last reported to have surpassed 5.7 million units as of September 30th, 2025, meaning 300,000 units have been sold since. And here's an overview about the game. Let's see here. So here comes Capcom's newest challenger. Street Fighter 6 launches worldwide in 2023. Wait, hold on. Is this just them talking about the game before it came out? Yeah, this is just them describing the game. It's just them describing the game. I'm pretty sure you guys all know what Street Fighter is. But I know I talked earlier about so many games being out, so many good games, both single player and multiplayer. So I thought this was an interesting stat to bring up just in case anybody was curious about how many more people might be playing single player games more than multiplayer games. Because keep in mind, the average gamer is in their 30s. Moving on though, as I said before, this survey reveals more players in the US and UK apparently prefer single player games over multiplayer. And there's a major generation gap in preferences. In a nutshell, are you someone who believes they are the last of a dying breed? A gamer who prefers single player titles over the tidal wave of multiplayer games being released these days? According to the survey, you're not actually in the minority. If you live in the US, UK, and Japan, that is. NPR Analysis, a UK-based research and analytics firm, surveyed 34,428 people across 22 markets about their gaming habits and preferences. One of the questions was whether participants prefer single player experiences over multiplayer. Now in the US, 65% said they would opt in for a solo game. Single player lovers were also the majority in Japan, Thailand, Germany, the UK, and Mexico. And here are the rates here. Share gamers who agree with the statement by market, I prefer single player games over multiplayer. Mexico seems to be 55%, Sweden 49%, China 47%. But unsurprisingly, the survey results suggest that the older you are, the more likely you are to prefer single-player games. 49% of people aged 16 to 24 said they would rather play alone. This figure grows to 56% for those aged 25 to 34, and a massive 64% for those between 55 and 64. NPR said this highlights a clear divide between Gen Z and millennial gamers. That makes sense. Being younger, you got a lot more free time to enjoy things. You know, you might come home from school, maybe you work a part-time job. Most of the time, your bills are still paid for by your parents and people around you, so you just have a lot more free time to go to school and just come back home and play video games, maybe go out with your friends. So that makes sense. But as you get older, you get more responsibilities. Maybe you start a family, maybe you got to pay a car note, maybe you got to take the train back and forth to work, so maybe you don't have as much time to play. And as you get older, those growing responsibilities means you have less and less time to game, which is why things like, on a different note, a Steam Deck and Steam Machine would be so desirable for people in the gaming era. Like handheld gaming, that's why it's such a big thing. That's why mobile game is so big. Mobile gaming is still so big to this day. But the results also show that 24% of participants would buy or download a game if their friends are also playing it. This generational gap has been highlighted in similar previous surveys. Now, media research questioned 9,000 gamers across several countries in 2024, finding that most players, which is 53% overall, preferred single-player experiences, and the age gap differences in preference are plain to see in the chart below. And we've gone over this chart before, actually, I believe earlier this year in a different stream. But you have different things here listed as like PvE, couch co-op, online PvP, single player. Overall, leading to 53% of gamers saying single player is their preferred way to play, number one choice. Few things in gaming spark as much debate as a single player versus multiplayer argument. Most companies prioritize multiplayer and live service titles for one simple reason, that they act as a constant, lucrative source of income. Just look at the likes of Diablo 4, Destiny 2, Roblox, Minecraft, etc. I don't know how much longer Destiny 2 is going to be a good example to look at, unfortunately. People are not happy with that game right now. You might remember EA's ill-advised tweet in 2022 that read, "There are 10, but they only like playing single-player games," which received the sort of response one would expect. EA was one of the loudest companies claiming single-player games are dead, going all the way back to 2020 when an executive made the bold statement. I remember that. They're just stupid. That's just stupid to say. But there's been a slew of excellent single-player games this year. Clay Obscure, Expedition 33, Dispatch, Doom the Dark Ages, The Outer Worlds 2, Blueprints, Hollow Knight Silksong, and plenty more. The survey proves demand for these games is still there, especially among over 30s. Ultimately, the single-player games are no more dead than PC platform itself. Remember, people constantly said PC gaming was finished, which happened a lot between 1995 and around 2013 because of the consoles, piracy, and mobile gaming. That's just crazy to me, man. I'll never forget when EA said that. The people at EA just have some of the worst takes I've ever heard in my life, which is crazy. Speaking of live service games, though, let's talk about the finals, because apparently they're ending support for the PS4 on March 18th, 2026. So they're giving people until March of next year to get a PS5 or a PC or something. So the PlayStation 5, Xbox Series, and PC versions are going to remain in operation. Now, the PlayStation 4 version of the free-to-play multiplayer first-person shooter, The Finals, will end service on March 18th, 2026. This is alongside the start of the game's 10th season. So the Finals first launched for PlayStation 5, Xbox Series, and PC via Steam on December 7th, 2023, followed by PlayStation 4 on December 12th, 2024. By the time the PlayStation 4 version ends service, it will have been in operation for 1 year and 3 months. And here's a full message from Emerald Studios on the PlayStation 4's version end of service. When Season 10 begins, we'll be retiring the Finals on PlayStation 4 and focusing our support on current generation hardware. From that point on, you'll need to play there to keep enjoying the game. Your progress and purchases will be stored in your Embark ID and will transfer to anywhere you choose to play. We're incredibly grateful to everyone who's been part of the PlayStation 4 community. See you in the arena. I really hope more people get into the Finals. It's a great shooter. It's wonderful. I understand people's time is limited, but it is free. So if you're someone who hasn't tried out this game, it's a wonderful time to hop in. Let me see here. What else do I got for you guys? I know I brought up Arc Raiders and Embark, so I think this is a perfect segue to talk more about Arc Raiders, because apparently they're coming out with a new series that will give a look at the game's development, some behind the scenes looks, and some just more information on how the game is developed and how it worked behind the scenes. Because for those who don't know, this game originally started out as just a PvE extraction shooter. But then it went on to say that this game was not fun as just a PvE extraction shooter and decided to add a PvP element into it. And that's how we got the game that we know today. Arc Raiders fans will soon have more to celebrate as developer Embark Studios is gearing up to release a web series focused on the game's production. There have been a lot of big hits this year, and Arc Raiders has been one of the most surprising on the list. Players will soon get a behind the scenes look into how much work it took to get to this point. Now, the road to the release of Arc Raiders has been a long one, as the extraction shooter was originally announced at the Game Awards all the way back in 2021. During its production, Embark Studios faced a variety of challenges, ultimately delaying the game's launch. Thankfully, for many, the wait for Arc Raiders was well worth it, as it's been proven to be a massive success. Now, for those craving even more Arc Raiders content, a documentary about the game's rocky development is on the way. And this is a teaser here. Let me actually go to YouTube so we can look at it, so you guys can get an idea of what they got going on here. Make sure the volume is adjusted so nobody's ears explode.
So we wanted to make something completely our own. And everyone had an idea of something fantastical. Sci-fi leaning because it's comfortable. Everyone kind of likes it, but it's also a challenge to carve out your own. Even my kid, who was 12 at the time, just had the sentiment going, oh, new studio, sci-fi game, very original.
The larger recipe for the game wasn't there. We couldn't replicate the sessions consistently enough. That's enough to start talking about, well, should we consider adding the PvP component?
A lot of people, and frankly me included, wanted this to be a PvE game, and I wanted for our vision to work. But when it doesn't work, you can release what you have to the public and they will crucify you. Or you decide, I don't want to continue with this, we shut it down. Or you still have a belief in the lore and the core kind of gameplay loop, and you say, maybe I can just make this something different.
Can I just say how great it is that they actually had the self-awareness to realize the game itself wasn't fun in its original state. So even then, they had a clear vision for the game. They really wanted something to work. They realized other people, like he said, will crucify him if they were to release a game in that state and if it was not good, because the internet does not hold back. So it's very nice that they actually decided to go through and make those changes and make the game more fun and make adjustments. And it's really nice that they're even doing something like this in the first place and releasing episodes and behind the scenes footage of what it was like for them to develop and work on a game, because a lot of people don't do this. And it's very refreshing to see a company come along and actually give us a little bit of a brief insight into what working on a game like this was like for them. So that's really cool. But apparently the full episode of that is coming soon. I don't know if it has a release date yet right now. We can go back and look at the article, see if it does or it doesn't. See if we can find out anything. It's officially called The Evolution of Arc Raiders, which is a YouTube teaser for the upcoming web series, hinting at a deep dive as to why Embark Studios made certain decisions during the game's development. From interviews with various developers to intriguing concept art, The evolution of Arc Raiders is set to showcase how Embark Studios came together to craft a unique sci-fi world that successfully stood apart from others in a genre which is no easy task. Now, from the early days of its development, where Embark Studios intended for the game to only be a PvE experience, to the eventual implementation of PvP gameplay, the documentary series will take players through the company's long journey. And now, Embark Studios co-founder Patrick Sutherland mentions in the trailer that he and many of the developers were hoping for a solely PvE experience, but the team was struggling to make it work properly, which ultimately led to the addition of Arc Raiders' PvP. Okay, so it'll span 3 episodes and is produced by crowdfunded media company NoClip. That's dope. It's hard to imagine Arc Raiders without PvP now, so it's incredibly interesting that so many developers were against it at first. Also, some players not engaging in PvP and choosing to be friendly has been a fascinating part of the Arc Raiders community. Although Embark Studios is yet to reveal when the first episode of the evolution of Arc Raiders will arrive, many fans of the hit distraction shooter are bound to find this upcoming look behind the scenes quite compelling. Especially if you're someone who may be working on a video game or in an indie studio. Having that level of insight to a game as big as this could inspire somebody to go and make their own thing or to pivot in a different direction. That's hard to do. That takes a lot of humility to do. To be working on something and you're like, I really want this idea to work. I really want to make this work. But then you realize it ultimately may be to the detriment of your own project. Speaking of different games and different projects, Fatekeeper. We're going to be talking about that today. One of the games that has been shown more at the Xbox presentation yesterday. It's supposedly a first-person fantasy RPG with old school soul. I looked at this game and it kind of reminds me almost of Dark Messiah, Might and Magic, if anybody remembers that. Let's see if we can find out some information here. I'm trying to zoom in for you guys so this will be easier to see. So the developer and publisher is being made, the developer and publisher are Paraglacial, and it's published by THQ Nordic. So it's a first-person action RPG. Players explore a handcrafted world full of ruins, forests, caverns, and ancient sanctuaries. You can fight with swords, cast powerful spells, or mix both. The game supports different playstyles. Combat is a big deal in Fatekeeper. It's not just button mashing. You'll use reactive melee attacks, spells, and environmental interactions. This is why I say it reminds me of Dark Messiah, Might and Magic, because you could do things in that game like throw ice on the floor and make people slip. Or throw barrels at them and kick them off of buildings. Very fun game. There's a strong physical feel, slow motion decapitations, ragdoll physics, and large enemies make fights dramatic. Your character can lean in the strength, precision, of sorcery. So let's look at this trailer. Because I saw it yesterday and I was like, this game's looking kind of gas. At least to me personally. May not be everyone's cup of tea, but it really is mine.
Como tan okore arakura. Santo kakoran shipa. Sentu nema kun. Kitoma. Uchi kitoma. Labok. Solgo fan kurabakut. Utagarun shoklitantifa, Zendakal Maritoma. Kotaktu. O tu makumbach, druoko,
Oh my god. I'm gonna be doing a lot of that. That too. Throwing people off buildings, that too. We got puzzles.
Itanku barakitan. Okrotuka koranchi. Falumak hokre oritoma.
Wonder what language he's speaking.
Takarun kal dokushi. Washikotan.
Okay, apply poison to the blade. Oh, yeah, they did say decapitations. Oh my god. Hey, yo, he just cut his head. Oh, yeah.
Guitar.
Like, I've seen it before, but I forgot.
Merituk. Utan ketoanshi. Utan Fatekeeper.
Okay, so that's coming to early access on PC this winter. What else is in the trailer? Oh, is that it? Is there nothing else? Unfortunate, but it looks cool. It looks cool. So we got progression and builds. The progression system is deep. You pick how you grow: raw strength, agile, precision, or magical power. There's relics, spells, and gear that change how you fight. In the world design, Fatekeeper's world isn't fully open, but it's deeply crafted. The levels are designed by hand and not just scattered. You can explore ruins, forests, and underground caves and find hidden lore, powerful artifacts, and tough enemies. I like that. Not every game has to be open world and require hundreds and hundreds of hours of exploring. Give me a few instance levels that kind of like are semi-open, where you can go in quite a few different areas in these closed off worlds and then just progress that way, but have them be, what's the word for it? I don't want to say cluttered. I think cluttered is in the wrong context here, but have them be filled with interesting and dynamic events that I can participate in. Almost as if the game was open, but it stops just short of feeling like I'm doing homework when I'm going to clear out this camp or hideout over here, stuff like that. That's a welcome change for a game like this, in a genre like this. So the game is built in Unreal Engine 5. That gives it its detailed environment, smooth animations, and strong visual effects. From weapon swings to magic bursts, the action looks bold and cinematic. That it does. Now there's a mix of serious fantasy and some small weird moments. In an 8-minute gameplay preview, a talking rat accompanies you, bringing humor and character that cuts through the grim atmosphere. I was gonna say this game looks much more akin to something like dark fantasy. So according to multiple sources, Fatekeeper is aiming for early access on PC and Steam on winter 2025 or sometime in 2026. The full release on console should come after that. On Steam, the release date is currently listed as to be announced. Oh, I like that they have a why it matters section here. But Fatekeeper, I know you guys can barely see this. I'm trying to zoom in as much as I can. But Fatekeeper stands out because it brings back a more physical, weighty combat style, and it feels like a spiritual successor to Dark Messiah, Might and Magic. I knew it! I knew it! But with modern polish, for players who miss the first-person melee RPGs that makes action and magic, this could hit the right spot. Seriously though, I remember playing, I want to say I played this on this demo on the Xbox 360, right? Yeah, it's this game. If you guys haven't heard of it, if you're someone who has a 360 in your basement somewhere, give this game a shot. Give this game a shot. Really fun game. Really fun game. Oh my god, I didn't expect to zoom in that far. Really fun game. Had a good time playing that one. What else we have here? I know they said they were shooting for early access release, which makes this another good segue because we are talking about Hytale again. Another update in the game that wants to release an early access soon. The early access for Hytale will only be $20. And that's because charging more didn't feel right. And he doesn't think the game is good yet, but my team and I will push hard to make it good, then great. The Minecraft-inspired RPG may finally be released after all, and Hypixel founder Simon Collins-Laflamme isn't keen to muck it up. Hytale is saved, yes, but there is still a long way to go. The ambitious Minecraft-inspired sandbox RPG was canceled by Riot after developers couldn't bring Hytale to life in a way that truly delivered on its promise. And its new goal is to deliver the original vision for Hytale from before it turned into a sprawling 7-year project. The Hypixel founder Simon Collins-Laflamme said in a post on Twitter that the original vision comes with a relatively humble price tag, $20, or as aggressively low as possible. Let's see here. See if we can look at the full tweet that he put up here. So the game is unfinished and runs in a build from over 4 years ago. Charging more didn't feel right, and I don't think the game is good yet. My team and I push hard to make it good, then great. The vision is clear now, and progress is fast. I want as many players as possible to jump in. Times are tough in the current economy for a lot of you, and I want everyone to have a fair chance to be part of what comes next. Thank you for the support. That's cool. Anything else you had here? I'm never gonna financially recover from this. Oh god, that's funny. Somebody said keep putting your players first and eventually you'll more than recover. Posting Gabe Newell here. Hey, you know? But as Laflamme notes in his post, the game effectively lost 4 years of development as the build the new team is working on or working with is quite old. But the restart is also an opportunity to cultivate goodwill for a project that mostly languished in the public eye for the better part of a decade. Charging more didn't feel right. And I don't think, well, yeah, we literally just read that. How many times are we going to read that? So they did say progress is fast. Really fast, in fact, as the new team released 16 minutes of new footage a single day after reclaiming the old build from Riot. And despite some hand-wringing about it being raw and broken, It seems quite good for a game that had every right to look pretty busted given the messy context leading up to its pending release. I will give them a bit of a break here, because if you're working with a 4-year-old build, you just got your games back on the hand, you just got your hands back on the game, you just got back into the engine, and you were able to somehow turn around a 16-minute trailer that quickly, I'll give them some grace there, because that's not something that everybody can just turn around and do. Granted, there will be an increasingly standard suite of special editions for those who want to show a little extra support, but $20 is still a pretty agreeable price point. It's about as much vintage story as the other snazzy Minecraft-like turning heads these days. As for when early access will begin, a recent blog post from the developer team states it's coming in the next few days. They went on to say that I'm just happy to see the game might actually release one of these days. Hytale isn't the first voxel-based RPG to win me over with the tantalizing concept, and let me tell you, that story doesn't always end well. We love that, we love that. Let's look at some more games from the Xbox presentation, because we do have a few more to talk about. I didn't want to talk about the whole presentation, mainly because I think everybody else has done that already, but I wanted to talk about some of the games that have stood out, some games that looked interesting or looked like as if they were doing something different. Case in point, our favorite man Pinhead from Hellraiser got his trailer. So Hellraiser Revival's first gameplay trailer is hellish and horrible. The first gameplay trailer for Hellraiser Revival has dropped, and it's absolutely not for the faint of heart. If you thought the debut trailer was wince-worthy, this is just as nasty and as vile as you expect. It's heaven, but in hell. A pleasant, also unpleasant surprise dropped in July 2025 with a Hellraiser Revival trailer revealed by Saber Interactive. It marks the first time a horror title has ever had its own standalone game, and the first gameplay trailer that shows you expect every bit of nastiness as the movies rolled into one. I hate it here. They said it has some Cenobite. The puns are killing me. So, Insider Gaming's hands-on Gamescom preview tells you everything you need to know about a Hellraiser Revival. An hour-long theater of violence and sadism was one of the many lines we used. Now you can see the evidence for yourself through the first Hellraiser Revival gameplay trailer. It has everything a Hellraiser fan is looking for: nudity, graphic violence, and a sprinkling of Pinhead. There's also a lot of visceral combat, a look into the game's brand new story, and you also get to look into the game's assistance of going to extra length of platforming and puzzling. Graphic warning for everybody in the chat who may be a little squeamish, may not like gore. This trailer is only 1 minute and 4 seconds long, but I feel like I needed to put that disclaimer there for people who may not want to see all that. So this is just a heads up. If you're someone who's a little squeamish, come back in 1 minute and 4 seconds. I got you, don't worry.
Pain. Ecstasy.
My God, his ankle.
Suffering. To us, they are the same. You know nothing about the true beauty of suffering.
Stealth?
I see your intrigue. Your fear.
How did they get away with putting this on YouTube?
Your inability to comprehend these sights. But you call for us, and you can no longer return. You can only journey deeper into hell and witness the infinite terror within. The reckoning will be transcendent.
Alright, so I'm a fan of the Hellraiser franchise, and I really do like horror movies, but I'm afraid if I buy this Steam game, my friends won't talk to me anymore. It's, oh man, that looked interesting though. I don't think that's the word I should be using for everything we just saw, but as far as gameplay mechanics go, with the whole combat, the stealth mechanics, the platforming, the puzzles, it's just a different enemy design. It looked weird. I don't know how much time we're going to be spending in the lament configuration, or like transported to hell, or how many Cenobites we're going to meet, but I do think this has the potential to be something decent. We don't really get a lot of movie tie-in horror games, or really a lot of horror games that have that higher production value, that higher graphical fidelity, and that just kind of work. So this will be big for those people who really do like horror games, such as myself, or people who constantly stream them. It'll be interesting to see where they go from there, especially with games like Resident Evil Requiem right around the corner. Well, not right around the corner, but coming out. And Reanimal, which is another game we're going to be talking about shortly. By shortly, I mean now. Let me pull that up for you guys, because if anybody was wondering why Little Nightmares 3 wasn't the best, in case you didn't enjoy it, I know some people still like it, it's because that wasn't made by the original Little Nightmares developers who made 1 and 2, but Reanimal is. So let me pull that up for you guys. So Reanimal is releasing on February 13th, 2026 for the PS5, Xbox Series S and X, PC, and the Switch 2. Tarsier Studios announced their upcoming title, Reanimal, at Gamescom opening night earlier this year, with a trailer that got many players excited. And developers also experienced in this space, bringing players the first two Little Nightmare games and Little Big Planet 3. They worked on Little Big Planet 3? Oh my god. The release date for Reanimal was spotted by Shinobi602 on X, formerly Twitter. The release date announcement also comes with other news. First, the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series S and X demos for the title will go live today. And secondly, the pre-orders from Reanimal are live as well, with the bonus being exclusive to Foxhead and Muttonhead masks. Digital Deluxe Edition buyers will get a season pass for all 3 DLC chapters along with the pre-order bonus. Now, Reanimal is a co-op horror adventure where players experience the story of a brother and sister who set foot in hell, oh god, to save their friends. The region the players explore is filled with tension and a thick atmosphere as they traverse by boat and on land. Exploration is key, as the main path is only one part of the story, with many mysterious locations and their own stories to tell. The title is fully playable in single player and local online co-op. It also has a shared directed camera designed to maximize claustrophobia and tension. In other news, read this guide to know whether or not you need to play Little Night. I'm not doing all that. I'm not doing all that. But that's news about Reanimal for those who are excited about it, who may want to play it soon and just were curious about when it drops. What else do we have here for you guys? I don't know how many people still are playing Vampire Survivors to this day. I don't know how many people are still playing Vampire Survivors to this day, but they've actually starting to come out with a new game, which is apparently called Vampire Crawlers, and it's ready to become your next obsession. So with Vampire Crawlers, Ponko Games is expanding the world of Vampire Survivors while also exploring a new genre, which is deck builders. In the years since Vampire Survivors first hit PC, Ponko Games has been busy. In addition to releasing numerous updates to its debut title, the company has expanded, entered into publishing, and paired up with other studios, including Vampire Survivors' biggest inspiration, Konami, to create a slew of fun collaborations. It's been an eventful few years for the BAFTA award-winning team, and it's simple yet utterly engrossing bullet heaven. And based on my time spent with Ponko a few weeks ago, that's just scratching the surface. Now, apparently for the past year, Ponko Games has been hard at work on its next game, Vampire Crawlers. The dungeon-crawling deck builder is a notable departure from the simplistic gameplay of Vampire Survivors. And yet, after spending around half an hour playing the game, it's abundantly clear that it shares much of the same DNA and the same penchant for chaotic fun. Although Crawlers is, at least initially, slower paced and less compulsive than its predecessor, it makes up for this with increased depth and strategy, all while incorporating elements that make the game delightfully unruly. Let me see if we can just look up the trailer here on YouTube. Let me pause the music again.
E10 for ages 10 and up.
We're milking this bunch of pixels like there's no tomorrow. Come again to feel the magic of the average Italian countryside in a game that will change your perspective. A new adventure begins. Explore maps, level up powers, kill monsters, find treasures. Either take your time and be tactical, or play as fast as you humanly can. The outcome is always accurate. Use wilds to break the combo system and summon survivors to trigger cascades of effects. Get overpowered and plow through enemies, or carefully customize your abilities to control the unhinged chaos of Vampire Crawlers, the turbo wildcard from Vampire Survivors. Coming as soon as we think it's ready.
Nice.
And we're done. Great work, everyone. We managed to go on for over a minute without ever saying neither card nor deck building. Nobody will think we're just another roguelike deck builder. We're in the clear.
I love that they're actually able to do that whole trailer in character too. That's a closer look at the actual gameplay and what that'll look like. So they went on to say that my first taste of Vampire Crawlers began with a fun cutscene, the same one seen in the game's announcement trailer, in which Vampire Survivors is transformed into a 2.5D experience. Now, it's an exciting way to kick things off and conveys an important message. Vampire Crawlers, at its core, largely feels like a new way of playing Survivors. Though Luca Galante, the creative director behind Vampire Crawlers, said the team ultimately did go through and update most of Survivors' original assets for Crawlers, much of the series' visual identity remains intact. A cynic might call this lazy, sure, but I'd argue it comes across as more of a respect for Survivors' initial vision, and it ultimately works within the context of Crawlers. Furthermore, Galante said this was a very intentional choice that placed the company's stability ahead of a need to create new things on purpose. The idea was practical and technical. I thought, let's use the exact same assets, because if we change them, people are going to complain. If we change them, it is going to increase the cost of this project. And I'm not an entrepreneur, I'm not a risk taker. I don't want to end up having crazy budgets for games and putting the company at risk. Following the cutscene, you're immediately thrust into familiar terrain, the Mad Forest. Crawlers seem to retain Survivors' fantastic soundtrack, and it certainly leans into its predecessor's visuals, albeit with a slight 90s JRPG spin. Let me adjust this chair and sit up a little bit. Gameplay, however, is an entirely different story. Rather than using a mouse, joystick, or finger to traverse, automatically attacking as you do so, Crawlers implements arrow keys and navigates its environment to a first-person perspective. A map is displayed in the bottom right-hand corner, detailing the layout of the dungeon floor as well as where enemies lurk. You then decide if you want to take on every enemy, raking up experience as you do, or beeline straight to the map's elite enemy. This adds a bit of strategy in itself, as you must weigh in if certain battles are worth potential damage you'll take. Is it worth pushing your luck with a swarm of bats when a monstrous mantis lurks ahead? More strategic are the battles themselves. Upon encountering an enemy, the game seamlessly enters into a turn-based combat mode in which you use cards, all of which have set mana values to take down monsters. Each of Crawler's 20 or so characters, all of which are pulled directly from Survivors, comes with their own varied deck of cards, making your character selection more important than ever. Just like Survivors, Crawler sees you first play as the whip-wielding Antonio Belapes. Antonio comes equipped with cards like 0 mana cost Whip and 1 mana cost Spinach. Both items will be familiar to Survivors players but have slightly different effects than Crawlers. You gain bonuses based on playing your cards in ascending mana cost order, though sometimes it's not the most advantageous move. For example, playing a 1 mana cost Spinach which boosts your attacks by 20% before executing several 0 mana cost attacks is often the way to go. Now additionally, there's also a play all button which allows you to play all your cards simultaneously for a healthy dose of chaotic fun. Now Galante explained this is partially added as a quick way to get through battles if you know what you're going to win, which I appreciated. As you level up, you'll get the opportunity to add new cards to your deck. Additionally, you can use gems found in treasure chests to upgrade cards. These upgrades can upgrade the damage cards deal, reduce mana cost, and more. This adds another layer of decision making as you must weigh which card would be best to sock your newly found gem into. The seemingly final layer is that later on in the game, you can bring up to 3 survivors with you on an expedition, allowing you to mix together decks in their various playstyles. After completing the Mad Forest dungeon, I was able to visit one of the game's more charming areas, the village. Presented as a circle of buildings you can cycle between, the village is essentially your base of operations, though I wasn't able to check out all of what it offered. The most notable inclusion was the tavern, which serves as a more immersive way to select your character by wrangling away from them their designated drinking spot. Although the village was built with the intention of being expandable, Galante noted that it's not intended to act as a major component of the game. While the base building sicko in me was a bit disheartened to hear that, the reasoning behind the decision makes sense. There are games that give you a little customizable village, but that for me is one step too far. If the core of the game is playing cards and I also add a little strategy to the village, then I really start branching a bit too much. The village will most likely stay how it is right now, which is just a circle of buildings. However, it being a circle means that once in a while we can make a new building pop in between others, so it is still expandable, and any new feature we come up with over time, we'll be able to fit it in there. So that's a nice way of maintaining the scope, making sure that they don't go too far in the scope creep and just adding things and increasing the development time and money. It's hard to say if Crawlers will sink its fangs into me the same degree that Vampire Survivors did, but it's worth admitting that I felt the same when I first started Survivors. Since then, I've racked up a frankly embarrassing amount of time in that game. 30 minutes felt too short to form a strong opinion on Crawlers, but I enjoyed what I played and have faith that it will steal just as many hours away from me as Survivors did. Beyond that, I also feel that Crawlers has plenty of potential to grow in accordance with what Ponkel's community ultimately wants. Studio head Luca Galante expressed an eagerness to expand the game, be it by leaning into exploration, adding more depth to the village, or increasing the options for car modifications. Vampire Crawlers is currently slated to release early next year with the ultimate goal of avoiding any overlap with Grand Theft Auto 6. All right, what else do we have here? Total Chaos. Oops, let me make sure that trailer doesn't play too early. Let me bring that up for you guys. Yep, Total Chaos had a trailer that got released as well. I believe the game is out now actually on Steam, so if you're curious about this game, you can actually pick it up currently. Let me just double check and make sure. Total Chaos. Yeah, you can pick this game up now for $21 because it's currently on sale. Let's see what we got here.
I've been alone in this place. Isolated and rotting away. It has been suffocating. I've lingered here far longer than I ever meant to. Retracing old steps and replaying every moment. Wondering where it all fell apart. But why? What's the point? You can't rewrite what's already happened. My path brought me here to this core.
Oh Lord.
These fading memories. They're all I have left. You fought so yourself deeper.
Wait, Akira Yamaoka, where have I... Wait, is that the Silent Hill composer? Or am I tweaking? No, that is for Silent Hill. That's crazy. They got the composer for Silent Hill to show up for this? I might have to play this.
If you still had a chance to leave, would you take it?
That's some crazy wallpaper art. That's Total Chaos. If anybody was curious about wanting to play a new horror game, it looks pretty interesting. I don't know if I'll stream it, but it looks pretty interesting for those who are into horror games and streaming horror games, making content around them, or just, you know, playing them. Got another one here for you.
"7 years ago, the veil tore open, and the worthy were claimed. We were left behind. In our desperation, we called to you, warrior, to stand against the darkness.
I'm liking the movement.
Equipped with our best, you will forge a path through Paris, long decayed. Together, we must reach the sunless gate. When we die, we will leave this place. But you return again and again.
Oh God. Almost reminds me of Returnal. Or like Remnant 2 with the enemy design.
Really? And why have you come? Is this our salvation? Or is this the end?
That's coming 2026. Okay. Have another one for you guys as well. Tides of Annihilation.
We thought all his knights were dead. Yet Lamorak sends one more. I almost admire him.
Tyranno! But you're one of the White King's sorceresses. You destroyed the White Lands.
That destruction is in fact salvation.
You're insane!
You know not of what you speak. Accept your defeat.
We're going straight into the boss battle. Okay.
Lamorak! She's created another folded realm. I can't reach her.
We cannot cross two folded realms, but this spear can. Take the spear.
She's human again.
It seems you do have the capacity to surprise us.
This all looks sick so far, but I'm noticing a lot of the frame drops. Granted, this is way before the game's coming out, but I am a little concerned about that. We've been seeing a very big pattern of games coming out and having frame drops during boss battles like this. I do hope this is something they iron out before the game releases, especially all these effects going across the screen. But this looks awesome. This looks beautiful so far.
Not enough. Change. Rectify.
Like that drop that happened right there.
Even with your new ally.
We end this here.
That's so sick.
Enemy of my enemy, I lend you my strength.
We fight as one.
Tyranno of the Nine.
Voice acting sounds good too.
You will not escape justice. Justice. There is only the king's will.
Go to hell!
Foolish knight and your foolish foe.
Can we just take a second to appreciate the fact that they have this other, what do they call it? Folded realm, or this other realm? This looks nice. This is interesting because I like the way it reflects the current world they're in the way it changes the colors, and the way you're constantly interacting with it and have these different gameplay mechanics in there. I really like what I'm seeing so far. I just hope this game isn't a technical mess when it comes out, because if not, I do think this could be something special. I'm excited.
Loyalty without inquiry is in itself a betrayal.
Hey, look at what we're seeing.
Your loyalty has condemned this man.
I kind of don't know what to say, because I'm someone who's all for stuff like this. I like playing JRPGs and things where the attacks, the people are calling out the name of the attacks. There's this fire everywhere. There's flashing lights, like all these different over the top effects where the scale is just huge. For example, playing like the Disgaea games where you're doing things like dropping a whole meteor on people, riding it and laughing maniacally on the way down while you're dropping on their heads. Stacking up a tower of like 10 people on each other's heads and then slam dunking somebody at the bottom. I love over the top like this. This is right up my alley. If this game ends up not being a technical mess and it ends up having even a semi-decent story, I think this would be at the very least an 8 out of 10 easily. Still here making food? I appreciate you, Nightmares. Thank you. So that was Tides of Annihilation. I think I have one more trailer for you guys. Yeah, it would be by the name of Zoopunk, if I remember correctly. Let me see if I can find it for you guys real quick. Actually, let me just type it in here. I'm already on YouTube. What am I doing?
Territory alone. You sure you thought this through?
Thinking is your job. Doing is mine.
That spark didn't come easy, Ray.
Yeah, a few bumps along the way. But I got it.
You really fixing to gamble with it?
1 for 5, it's worth a shot.
Ain't you worried something might go wrong?
Wrong? I'm counting on it.
Oh, he's with the smoke.
It's mine now. Finish him.
Love the way the music kicked in. He said, is that a rabbit? I believe so. I believe so.
Give it back.
Oh my god, we got boss battles too?
Walk right in himself, huh?
It's all yours now, boss.
That's nasty.
Good work. Now with this, even the Machine Legion doesn't stand a chance against me.
Infinity Stones.
What? Huh?
Oh. Backup coming in like that?
Miss me?
Oh, wait, there's different characters you can play as. I'm sorry, the Warhammer fan in me loves the chainsword.
Gotta hand it to you this time, Ray.
If Tron hadn't planned ahead and sent us as backup, you'd be done for.
Mission done? Let me take a look.
All accounted for. What's next?
It's time to save Torch City.
Graphics aren't bad either. We got parries. Executions too? So yeah, this will be on PS5, Xbox Series S, and X, PC, on Xbox, Steam, and Epic Game Store. Do we have a release date? Let me see here. Let me just type in release date. Oh, this is set decades before the events of Fist, Forged, and Shadow Torch. If you guys remember that game. I wonder if you're playing like his dad or something in this game. That's interesting. Release date was not announced. Okay. Well, that's gonna do it for all the gaming news that I do have for you guys today. I hope you all came away from that a little more informed, a little more knowledgeable. We covered a few different games from the actual presentation and some other stuff going on in the industry currently. Really happy about that. So I hope you guys learned something today.